Renueva tu estilo de otoño en JCPenney. Descubre grandes ofertas en modelos versátiles que puedes combinar con piezas tuyas, como un blazer y pantalón de pierna ancha Worthington con tu blusa favorita, o un suavecito suéter St. John's Bay con tu camiseta preferida. Y combina una chaqueta Stafford con uno de los clásicos en tu closet. Con un par de piezas versátiles puedes crear múltiples looks únicos y extraordinarios. Eleva tu estilo de otoño y ahorra. JCPenney. Vale la pena.
Here's my autumn statement. Stop saying fool. You're not American. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello and welcome to another edition of Non-Censored, the podcast which picks out the best bits of my fabulous radio show. I am, as always, joined by Producer Martin. Producer Martin, how are you today?
Oh, I'm feeling very good. You know, I'm feeling open and ready for all of the charms that the autumn statement is almost inevitably going to bring.
Yes, I mean, it is something that we're all excited about, and we will be talking about, of course, on the show. But we didn't have time for everything, did we, Martin? As always, we didn't sadly get to cover G20, but that's because I think it was a unanimous agreement that climate change is really not something worth reporting on.
I don't know if it was unanimous.
I think it was unanimous. I think we all agreed that. I think we all agreed. No, this deals with the facts, not fairy tales. I think that's what you said.
Well, that's no. I think this question, but yes, definitely a topic that we won't be able to give its due time.
We also sadly we had an interview, didn't we, with Lionel Messi, but we couldn't use that because of all the swearing.
Oh yeah, well he was not happy, But there you go. That's football. They say it's a beautiful game. Well, it's a real potty mouth on that one.
It's fine. A lot of us don't understand it anyway. Anyway, first up, we had senior economic correspondent Eshaan Akbar to talk about the autumn statement. Very cheery stuff. We are joined by our senior economics editor, Eshaan Akbar. Eshaan, hello. How are you today?
Hello. I'm very well, thank you. Giddy with excitement because it's budget season.
Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? It's always, I've been looking forward to this, but good things come to those who wait, and it's come now. And that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely. And Jeremy Hunt has acknowledged that the UK is in recession, which of course is not the UK's fault. Recession's not the fault of the country. You know, you can't attribute economic stagnation to decisions that were made 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, come on.
Yes.
So things have to, you know, sometimes when there's a recession, you've got to tighten your belts a bit, and that's what we're doing, really tightening the belt. But don't worry, this is Jeremy Hunt with an H. He's looking out for the poorest in our society. Extra payments are coming, £900 for those on means-tested benefits, £300 for pensioner households, and £150 for those on disability benefits to help them through this recession. Now, the other thing that will help people through this recession, of course, as we know, is to basically have more money. Now, Martin, Harriet, what if I was to say to you, without doing very much, right now, you could have more money.
I'd agree. Well, yes, I think I could definitely.
Yes, I'd be. Have more. I like that.
Would you like to have more money?
Wait, what is this?
Yes, I would.
Is this an indecent proposal you're working up to? You can't. No,
not at all. Not at all. It's a very decent proposal because, look, for the UK economy to be able to survive in this ever-changing global financial world that is becoming technologically more advanced, it's important that people like you, Producer Martin and Harriet, keep abreast of those big technological financial changes and start investing in cryptocurrency.
Right. Now, for the listeners who don't understand cryptocurrency, what's that?
Eshaan, am I right in thinking they're a kind of digital coin, sort of like the ones that Mario catches when he's running up and down through his world?
Similar kind of thing. Yeah, only, you know, with these cryptocurrencies, like Mario was able to actually extend his life with the coins that he got. With cryptocurrency, you can't actually buy anything, but it does make you richer.
So a bit more, a bit closer to the rings, the golden rings that Sonic collects, perhaps.
Sonic, yes, a lot more, exactly that. So you can get these golden rings, as it were, and add them to your portfolio. And the more people you tell, the more money you make. So on the screen, it will tell you that you're worth, 50 to £100,000.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, and you can't buy anything unless you go to El Salvador, where it's the only country in the world where it's legal tender. But it does make you seem wealthier.
Yes.
And if you're able to seem wealthier, then that changes your attitude towards the economy, because all the energy price rises and all this stuff, all the tax you have to pay, you're not really bothered, because actually you can open your laptop. And you're like, oh, I've got 150,000 Dogecoins.
I like the sound of this.
Eshaan, I do have to question, though. I mean, you're saying this is a good idea. I'm sure I was reading that FTX, the cryptocurrency exchange, has just gone into administration, and that some of the founders are actually currently on trial. I don't know if that's...
Well, that's the exchange, and that's not regulated. It's not a regulated market. So, there's always going to be unscrupulous individuals. I'm talking to some very trustworthy...
I did also hear that El Salvador is now bankrupt and is having to sell its debt on to China.
Yeah, but that's because of communism. That's got nothing to do with cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Oh, yes, and these communists, Producer Martin, I mean, you know what they're like with money.
El Salvador, more like El Salvador.
See, always with a joke. Yeah, we're talking about money, and you're cracking quips. Just brilliant.
No
just brilliant.
So I think that if you two were to consider this as an option, whatever Jeremy Hunt with an H, whatever his budget statement suggests, I think you'll be well protected from any of the financial pressures it may put on you, because ultimately the financial pressures aren't the creation of the Conservative Party, of the government. It's the world. And so you need to be protected from that. And I think if you log on to a website, which I can email you after, use the code Akbar.
Right. I've got to say, Eshaan,
Akbar 53.
It does strike me a little like a pyramid scheme. You seem to be selling it on to more people, giving your own personal...
why you have this anti-Egyptian...
Okay, I take that back. No, I'm very pro all of the different countries. So let's call it triangle plan.
But also, can I just say, Producer Martin, I think pyramid schemes, they get a bad rep, because my friend Nora, she had these wonderful products, and she was sort of tooting around all her friends, and she got more on, and there was a whole little business going on between all our friends, and we all had wonderful products, and then we could sell them on to more friends. And before we knew it, we were sort of, underground kind of crime gang, really. It was quite fun.
If you go in and type in the code Akbar53 to the email that I've just sent you, I will put, personally, 200 coins into your account, and you will.
That'll be great. That'll be good. That means I can paint my door.
Much like Sonic, there is a chance that you can run into trouble and all of your coins escape. They sort of, much like when he lands on a spiky.
Yeah, well then don't run. Don't run too fast into walls.
Well, that's good advice for anyone, I suppose. But
yes, you don't want to be like Sonic.
Yeah.
This is great. So you give me £200.
Yeah.
And
coins,
then how much more money do I get?
And then over the next...
Coins?
Yeah, you get 200 coins.
Coin. What do you mean by coins?
You get 200 crypto coins. These ones specifically are called rupees. And the rupees go into your account. You have 200 rupees. And then
I haven't heard of this currency.
Eshaan, what do I do with rupees? Can I buy things with that?
The more rupees you have, the wealthier you are.
And people will accept rupees. I can go into my local corner shop buy some...
Eventually, yes. When the technology's updated, you'll be able to...
I've got to say...
Right, I see. So it's just a bit of a waiting game, and then I can whip out my rupees.
I'm not sure we should, as a programme, be advising people that are struggling financially to get involved in any cryptocurrency at all, really.
Well, it's great because actually now the listeners, they've all heard your email address, Eshaan. So can they all get on board?
Yeah.
Can we get our listeners on board?
Use the code Akbar 53.
This is
so we could really help out our listeners.
I feel like the title senior economic editor is perhaps giving a bit too much.
Producer Martin. He's going to make us all rich along with all our listeners. And that's good because I've always felt very uncomfortable with the idea of having listeners who are poor.
Yeah, I've said that.
And now they all won't be.
Yeah, and also they're already being helped. They're getting 150 quid, especially if they're disabled. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all fine. Eshaan, always a pleasure. Thank you. I look forward to seeing, just how rich I get over the next coming months.
Yes, me too. Yeah. Okay, lovely to speak to you.
Don't be a stranger anymore, Eshaan. Don't be a stranger. Doge, because it's like the...
Don't do that, Martin. Now, one of the stories of the week has been bullying at Westminster. What do you think about bullying, Martin? That's disgusting. Stop making that horrible noise. We had Jake Andrews MP and Andrew Jakes MP on the show giving their views, and it was quite an interview. Jake Andrews and Andrew Jake, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure.
Now, what I want to speak to you really was bullying. Now, this has surfaced again in the news after Dominic Raab is facing an independent inquiry into bullying claims. Now, this is not the first time that someone high up in office has been accused of bullying. Do you think there's a problem in Westminster?
Well, look, I absolutely don't think there's a problem at all with bullying in Westminster. Everything is absolutely fine.
I would say bullying is a scourge of society that needs to be stamped out across all walks of life, but certainly it is not something that I would consider to be rife in Whitehall or the Palace.
There is no problem with bullying in Westminster. Next question.
So you've not seen anything before? You've not experienced? Neither of you have experienced bullying yourselves?
Well,
absolutely not. No.
Look, some conversations do become.
Jesus Christ, man! Your breath stinks. Did you wash your teeth this morning?
And these are the kind of conversations that we're normal people.
It smells like a dog's.
And conversations can become robust, and we're dealing with.
I think what Stinky Jake is trying to say essentially here is there has been a centuries-long tradition in the Houses of Parliament of robust conversation, and if some little wincy boys and girls go and complain to their mummies about it, then they're in the wrong job, quite frankly.
Sorry, just to clarify, is Stinky Jake an affectionate nickname?
It's whatever everyone calls him.
Yeah, and I absolutely don't take any offence to that, and I think that's just part and parcel of the cut and thrust of modern politics.
And if you hear any reports of him being caught in the toilets crying, then it's inaccurate, and it's probably been spread by your PA, your fat PA.
So, is it just banter? Is that what we're saying? I mean, Gavin Williamson, let's not forget Gavin Williamson had to step down, didn't he?
Big Gav. Yeah, he did have to step down. It's a shame about him because he really is the best of us, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and
he would.
He was a victim of a Ramona media, I would say.
Don't talk over me, please. He would be the victim of Ramona media, but Big Gav was absolutely the best of us, and his resigning is an absolute shock. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. The absolute best of us, and has a great career ahead of him once we've forgotten about what just happened.
So you think Gavin Williamson could potentially come back?
I hope so.
I hope he does, absolutely.
How much do you hope he does?
100%. I hope he has a lot to bring to Cabinet, a lot of talent, and we need those sorts of people in positions
What
of power.
sort of people do we need?
We're, good people. Good, strong,
the
best people who are happy to have these robust conversations in the cut and thrust of modern politics and
politics. What are they?
Sorry,
politics. If I could just jump in with politics aside, do you have a system by which you can differentiate bullying from, for example, salty salty words, maybe locker room talk, a little bit of joshing. Is there a way that you know? This producer Martin just trying to establish when bullying becomes bullying.
Well, look, I think for me the line is very, very clear. If you're being held down in a toilet, head down, and the flush is pulled, perhaps a wedgie, that is
classic move.
It's bullying, but it's playground bullying, and that may have happened to me once or twice, but I've not raised
4 times
because
it's happened 4 times to Stinky Jake.
And
it's part really of the
cried like a bitch.
The cut and thrust of modern.
And
politics.
sorry, Stinky Jake, can I just ask there? I mean, was that something that upset you, or did you find it all just a bit of fun?
Banter. And the plain truth was, I had thought about defying a 3-line whip and deserved it. And I think we need to remember that's how it's the cut and thrust of modern politics.
People who talk shit get shit, and on that instance, he deserved that.
But it's not. I wouldn't call it a culture.
Right.
It's a daily occurrence, but I'm not calling it a culture.
Okay, let's look at some of the things that have been said about Dominic Raab, about him, getting upset about Pret, and his.
Big man.
People have been talking and saying that he's upset them, and they just. I mean, do you think they should just man up? Yeah.
Absolutely. Women and men alike should just
all man up.
Shut up.
Yeah.
All man up. I would absolutely agree with that. And I think Rabi had a point that time he stabbed a PA with a pen.
Yeah. Okay. No, sorry. Is that on the record that happened?
Yeah. He pushed a biro into one of his aides.
And he described it as it happened, so it is on Hansard.
Yeah, and he claimed it didn't go in, but it did. It went right up.
Yeah,
but that's because Pret ran out of his favourite Christmas sandwiches, and I think that's a robust, it's a fairly robust response to a very disappointing situation.
No, I can understand that. I think people would sympathise with that one.
Well, the thing about Rabi is he's a big unit. He's a
you
big
don't know
man.
Why call him Rabi? You call him Dominic.
Sorry, I do try and join in sometimes, and you're right to pick me up on that. The thing about Dominic, my right honourable friend, is that he is a big, strong man. And where would we be without big, strong men? If we are not big, strong men ourselves, we should defer to the big, strong man.
Are you gay? Is that gay talk from an answer boy?
There are some quite concerning quotes that we've had from a source within Westminster. I don't know if you could just respond to these. Apparently there's culture of chat get banged. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I came up with that one.
Right.
That was an official policy.
Around and find out.
Yeah, that's another one of mine.
Yeah, that's on its second reading.
Right. Okay. So these are official policies.
Yeah, and many people don't realise that a lot of these ideas come straight from Michael Gove, and he's a font of this sort of wisdom.
Yeah, Gove, he's number one.
Keeps us in line.
I'm his number 2.
Finally, and possibly the most worrying here, we seem to have. We are the boys and we know what to do. Get all the girls and flush them down the loo.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered that earlier.
Yeah. Nadine Dorries loves it.
But it's girls and boys, really. So it is an equal opportunities.
That's good.
Government.
Yeah. I think what's nice is if we look at kind of the supposed culture of bullying here, it all really started raising its head with Priti Patel. And I thought, well, good for her. It's not just men going there. It's also strong women being strong and scaring civil servants.
Yeah, I mean, she came in, she taught us all a lesson or two when old Pritz came in. I mean, she, next level stuff from her, next level. And the triptych, psychological, emotional and physical all at once, can really, really crush someone's spirit. And hats off to her. Shame she's gone.
Yeah,
Mister.
Do you think it set a bad precedent that Boris Johnson chose to ignore those bullying claims?
Look, the key word there is claims, and I could claim you were bullying me now, or
and you probably would as well.
Or claim that I'm being bullied in this conversation, but it would be frankly ridiculous.
Yeah, he's not being bullied.
I'm not being bullied. I'm not. And so I think, where there's a word like claim or supposed, I think we can disregard the rest of the sentence or concept.
Wise words from a clammy man.
If we don't.
And if you were to send a message to any bullies out there, or anyone even thinking of bullying, what would your message be?
Do you want my email?
Yeah. Any tips and tricks send them his way.
Yeah.
But of course, we don't accept bullying within the Conservative Party or society as a whole. Just, I think we've been very clear that it's something that is sometimes necessary in the cut and thrust of modern politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying bullying, it's bad, but sometimes it's necessary.
It's a necessary evil that gets the job
Sometimes
done.
people just don't understand politics. I mean, that's the thing. It's a different world.
And if it gets this stinky wearing right guard, then, more power to it.
Andrew Jake and Stinky Jake, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us today.
You're very welcome.
Very great pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, we had Nadine Dorries back in the studio, but you weren't here for this, Martin. Why was that?
No, I had to give it a miss, and I was very, very sorry to miss out on Nadine. Always very sort of colourful chatter with her. But I had a personal matter to...
Oh, yes, you had couples counselling. Anyway, she was on to talk about her new book about Boris Johnson's downfall. Let's take a listen. Nadine, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Harriet. Thanks so much for having me back, even throughout everything.
Always a pleasure. We've missed you on the show.
I've missed you too. P.S. Always a pleasure was the working title for my newest book.
Well, actually, we're here to talk about your newest book because reportedly you are writing a book about Boris Johnson's dramatic downfall. Please tell us all about it.
All we ever hear about is how abused politicians are on the internet. Well,
Yes.
They always ignore the most abused politician of all time. The hit job that was done on the People's Churchill. Mr. Boris Johnson, full name, Boris Johnson. And I am finally going to blow the whistle on this. And that's my working title that I came up with second. I'm finally blowing the whistle on this.
That's wonderful. I thought the working title was The Political Assassination of Boris Johnson.
That's the current one. It changes. I just work on whims and vibes.
So are you going to set the record straight? Because obviously there's been a lot of misinformation about Boris Johnson, a lot of criticism towards him.
Nobody is perfect, but not a single bit of criticism allied at him was in any way valid in any way. So I am writing a book about that because no one else is saying it. You won't read this anywhere else. You won't read this in the mainstream media. That's why I'm saying it, and that's why you've got to buy my book.
And apparently it's been described as a political whodunit.
Yes, and no spoilers, but who done it? Rishi Sunak.
Really? That's what you're saying? Amazing.
He done it.
Wow.
Everyone knows it. Spoiler alert, he done it.
Do you think this might restore Boris Johnson's reputation?
Yes, immediately. It will fly off the shelves. They've pulped a bunch of copies of Out of the Blue, the book about, I want to say, was it Elon Truss? Is that her name? They were Prime Minister for months and a bit. Anyway, they've pulped a load of books called Out of the Blue so that they can print a bunch of my book, working title. Boris Johnson was really good, actually, and he's coming back. They're going to print a load of copies on that pulp to get it out extra quickly because I can write very fast. I can write all night.
Now, I believe in the power of literature. Do you think this could mean your book comes out, does really well, restores the reputation of Boris Johnson, and he comes back as Prime Minister in the next general election?
Yes, I predict that 3 minutes after the book is on the shelves, which are things in bookshops where you put the books. Once it's on there, 3 minutes will pass. People will immediately be on board. And then the next thing that will happen is all the pundits will be saying, oh, we were wrong. And then the next thing that will happen is Boris Johnson, full name Prime Minister Boris Johnson, will emerge as victor and he'll say, out of here, Rishi, take your boy gap suits with you. I'm in charge now. And he'll waltz into number 10 and I'll be there too. She'll never be me.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Now, I know you can't give away too much of the book, but I'd love to deep dive into some of the characters you have. So you've already implied that Rishi Sunak might be a bit of a villain in it.
Yeah, he done it.
Is there other villains? And is Carrie, is she the love interest, or is there another woman?
She's there, she cleans up, brings tea and stuff like that. Good for her. Pop down, get some milk, Carrie, and off she goes and does it because she's hungry for power and cups of tea for me. There are other villains in it. Working title, Jeremy Hunt. Another working title for another one of the villains is everyone else on the front bench, who's just a backstabbing little langer who just doesn't care. They're all in it just for the power. Well, I'm not. I'm in it for loyalty. And also, my books are out there and I'm going to be a lord.
You are going to be a lord. And let's talk about this. This is really, really exciting. And well done. I mean, what an honour.
They tried to take it from me, didn't they?
They tried to say that
just because I'd lied and broken the codes of Parliament, they said maybe he can't be a lord. But luckily, the woke mafia didn't get their say. And as I was no longer in the cabinet because I was no longer useful and I was going to be a lord, they let me be a lord. Now I'm a lord, Lord Nadine.
Lord Nadine, that's just brilliant because, I mean, lying and breaking parliamentary rules, we know that these things don't matter anymore. And this is something that Boris Johnson, of course, got accused of lying. And yes, some of them were just fun little lies. Is that something you also address in the book?
Yes, it is. Is it really a lie if it's fun?
Yes.
Well, thinking about.
So true. So is your book more of a thriller, you say? Is it funny? Is it romantic? What other tone can we expect?
It's very funny. There's some good slapstick stuff with people slipping and sliding on the road to power. There's a bit where Rishi Sunak, he falls in a slurry pit. Have you ever been to a farm? Have you seen a slurry pit? Basically, if you fall in it, you can't swim. Yeah, you can't swim. You drown in the slurry.
Oh, my goodness. God, how dramatic.
That's funny, isn't it?
It sounds quite like a horror.
It's slow. You drown very slowly in the slurry, and that's politics.
That is politics. You've written a lot of books, Nadine. I can't. Can you remind me how many books you've written now?
356 books.
356. I mean, that's a lot of books.
Why do you think I was culture secretary? I've written loads of books.
That is true, and they were predominantly, I think, romances. So you are romantic at heart. Yeah.
They were romantic, and it's nice to be writing a new book which is focusing on politics and thrills and romance, also lots of romance.
So it's basically bringing all the things you're really, really good at. Romance, politics, and a bit of horror. All those things
and
together.
Presenting, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be the perfect book. Now, Nadine, some people will say that even before the pandemic, Boris wasn't a particularly popular politician who benefited from running against an even less popular politician in 2019. And after Partygate, his personal approval has nosedived. And although he was popular amongst the Conservative Party membership, he trailed all of the leadership candidates amongst the general public. Do you really think there's an appetite for a book about him?
Okay, I need to address several factions of your question first. First faction of the question I'm going to address is, you said that he was popular amongst people in the something. That's not true. No one disliked him. The only person who disliked him was Jippery Creepins, right? Now, put it this way. 2019 election, you say that he was unpopular and he just ran against someone who was less popular than him, Jippery Cromlin, right? That's not true. Jippery was very, very unpopular, but Boris Johnson was extremely popular. Did you know that no one even liked Brexit until the 2019 election? So when he ran on the platform of Brexit, it was dead risky, but it turned out to be excellent, and that's why he won. And everyone really liked him because they liked him and they liked Brexit. So that's good. And he made it happen. Look, and it's all going great. So, firstly, popular. Secondly, I can't remember the rest of the question, but yes, there is an appetite for this book right now. Its working title is Go Get This Book. Hooray.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Get the book when it comes out. Nadine, as always, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
No, thank you.
Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, our interview this week was with actor, broadcaster, bon vivant, Sanjeev Bhaskar. It was a very, very fun interview where we looked at his career and all sorts, didn't we, Martin?
Yes, I've got to say I'm particularly proud of myself for not just fanboying him exclusively for his work in Paddington 2, which I think we can all agree is the greatest movie ever made. Legitimately, I love it. I think I'd probably take a bullet for that film, but yeah, as you can see, it's probably best I didn't say this to his face. It would have.
Well, no, that's nice that you say that. I mean, everyone knows that it is in fact the 1990s thriller Slither, but let's take a listen. Sanjeev, OBE, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's not my official surname, but thank you very much.
You've had a brilliant, varied career. You broke through with Goodness Gracious Me, of course. Now, Sanjeev, this was praised for its diversity, but I guess what I want to ask is how exactly are four people of the same ethnicity diverse?
Well, we all came from different parts of the world, in fact. I was born in London. Mira Sal, who was in it, was born in Wolverhampton, or just outside Wolverhampton. And Nina Wadia was born, I think, in Mumbai. And Kulvinder Gier, who was the fourth person, was born in, I think, Tanzania. And came here. So that's pretty diverse, isn't it? I mean, that's a big chunk of the world.
I see what you've done there. It's very clever. But what I want to know is, did you think about at any point having, a token, like a token white person?
Interesting you say that, because we had a token white person who was in every episode, and his name is Dave Lamb. And Dave Lamb, many people may know as the voice of Come Dine With Me.
Yes.
And he was the token white. So there you go.
Do you think you should have had two token whites?
Interesting you say that, because in each of the series we did 3 series of Goodness Gracious Me. We had a token white female in each series as well. So in the first series was Amanda Holden. Second series was Fiona Allen. Third series was Emma Kennedy.
He's using facts again. It's sometimes
I apologise.
Yeah,
I don't really like that.
I was just answering the question.
It's fair
no,
enough.
you can. No, of course you can answer the question. I just think it was quite a clever question that I asked, and you've undermined it.
No, don't do yourself down. I think it was a kind of excoriating, clever, intrusive question. I don't think you should feel bad about it at all.
I often sort of do throw these sort of gotcha moments at people, you see, and it's what I'm known for. Yeah, and I don't want that to go undetected.
No, I appreciate the fling. That sounds like suggesting something else between us, but you know what I mean. You flung
no,
the
okay, but
gotcha.
no, but you can. I mean, if you want to suggest that's fine. The listeners can make of that what they will. Goodness gracious me! Obviously, everyone loved it. Was reportedly the Queen's favourite comedy show, which I'm sure you've heard.
It wasn't, but thank you. The Kumars At Number 42 was her favourite comedy show.
Okay, Kumars At Number 42.
Yeah.
Right, different show. But that was her favourite comedy show. Do you think she quoted your jokes, and do you think she did the accent?
She didn't to me, but I've heard that she did quote the show to a reporter. As for the accent, I suspect she was probably quite good at accents, even though we only heard one. Yes. But I do suspect she was good at accents. I think the entire royal family are good at accents.
Are they? Have you heard any of them? How many of the royal families have you now met, Sanjeev?
Oh, gosh, how many of them are there? I don't know, percentage-wise. I don't know how big they are. It's either kind of about 20% or 98%, depending on one's definition of the...
That's very impressive.
Of how many
the 98 bit
is
impressive, and I think stick with that one.
Okay.
Anyone that's got a bit of silverware or goldware, anyone that's wearing any kind of precious metals at all is probably top royal, I'd say.
So it's the difference between sort of, silverware, goldware, and tableware and hardware.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Which are us.
Yes.
Okay, that's how you can tell. Yes, they carry around bits of silver and gold, and everyday people carry around salt cellars.
Yes,
and
maybe a screwdriver,
drill.
Yeah, I think that's what really sets them apart, isn't it? It's their cutlery.
I think from a distance, certainly, it's one of the most noticeable things, because otherwise they just look like people.
Yes,
really.
Oh, yes.
And so if they're carrying a drill, you kind of go,
you're like, that's not a royal. Sorry,
a royal.
You've got a drill in your hand.
Yeah.
Or a pitchfork.
Yeah.
It's wonderful though, because you're almost sort of a friend of the royals. I mean, you're not friends with the royals, but you're a friend of the royals. They like your shows, and of course also the Queen. She was great friends with Paddington, which was another film that you were in.
Yeah, I mean, therefore I have a lot of time for them, actually, because I think that I'll tell you something that was interesting. So I did a documentary years ago in India, and I spoke to a Maharaja, and he made the point to me that whereas politicians can, they can fail somewhere and not get in, not be elected, and then go and stand somewhere else and be elected. He said, I am the Maharaja of this place. He said, I can't be the Maharaja of somewhere else. So even though now he had no power and much reduced influence from the time when he could collect taxes and stuff like that, I thought that was a good point. I mean, one of the royals of Britain can't go and be the royals of, Greenland or Iceland or somewhere. So they are kind of connected to the country in a way that politicians aren't, I think, in a unique way.
Yes, we wouldn't want them going anywhere else, like, say, to America. Something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least that's a former colony. But I mean, somewhere that wasn't a colony, like Norway. Actually, Norway have got their own, so maybe I don't know how welcoming they would be.
But you're right. I mean, they should stay here. I didn't want to get onto Harry and Meghan, but as a friend of the family, what do you feel about that?
Well, the younger royals are kind of like, they're people as well from a distance. And I think that, basically, I think at the point that, Harry put down the golden spoon and
picked up a chicken instead.
Well, I mean, picked up a drill.
Yes.
I think, he became one of us at that point, He picked up a chicken.
He picked up a chicken. They went to America.
Yeah.
And she basically said, you don't have your family anymore, Harry, but what you do have is a lot of chickens. And they're chickens who are emotionally damaged, and they're your friends now.
Yeah.
And now he hangs around with those chickens, and she talks about, on her podcast, about feelings. And that really upsets me.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to unpack that a little more? Or?
No, but do you know what I could do with some emotionally supportive chickens right now? Sometimes I feel, but no, not me. I wasn't in the royal family.
So, like a therapy chicken.
Yeah, therapy chicken.
I think people have therapy dogs and
emotional support. Yeah, for sure. I tend to derive a great deal of emotional support from a lot of any animal, really, anyone that's not a human. Sometimes I have an emotional support table. I just need to hang on to it. Just something you can just take a moment and just breathe.
Does it help?
It doesn't hurt, I tell you that much. Sometimes it's just good to have a little solid,
It's not, I mean, strictly speaking, a table isn't really an animal.
No, I suppose it's not. No, it's not.
I mean, as long as you know that. I mean, it's an important thing that you know.
No, I don't try and feed it or, hug it.
Well, when you were holding on to its leg.
Well, exactly. And if it's got 4 legs, should it not be treated with the same respect as any other animal? That's a separate question. Maybe
it depends on.
Maybe not for now. I don't know.
To want to ponder.
But you can answer it. I mean, it's a pretty stupid question.
Come on.
Well, no. Well, I don't. For somebody who is kind of in an emotionally fragile state, you want to be very careful how you answer questions like that, because you can. They're holding on to one leg. Yeah. They might hold on to another leg, and that leg might be mine. And I may have to go somewhere. I may be in a rush, or I may have a medical appointment of some kind. And, you don't want to be disrespectful to the person who's going through something at that point, who's holding onto your leg. But at the same time, if you've got an operation pending or something, or the meter's running out in your car or something like that, then what do you do? I mean, do you shake them off? I mean, in
I think
Producer Martin's case,
shake
you
them
can
off.
but at least with Producer Martin, we now know that if there's a table nearby, you can connect them to
sort
that.
of like a koala bear. Just
you can sort of
koala,
prise
exactly.
them off your legs and put them onto the table.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a table's problem, I suppose.
But I guess what we're saying is you can get an emotionally supportive table.
Producer Martin can, yeah. I'm not sure anybody else can, but I mean,
No, I don't think it works for anyone else.
physically supportive tables are quite good because you've got to put stuff on them, but emotionally supportive is trickier.
Hard to
But
find.
everybody has their own journey through the darkness, through to the light, and
there's so much
I think
darkness. There's so much darkness at times.
there is. There's also that's because you're under the. Well, you're holding onto the table and you're under it probably because the legs are generally underneath. So if you were to, I don't know, sit up, stand up, maybe.
Sanjeev,
for your rights, you would. Yes,
I feel like I've almost derailed the conversation here by talking about my own personal troubles.
Well, do you know what you've done? We're starting to sound like Meghan's podcast, to be honest with you.
Too many emotions, too much chat about feelings.
Are you beginning to feel a bit sad, Harriet?
Well, no, it's just this is
nothing like a podcast then.
This is hard talk. This is what this podcast is. It's not soft table talk.
No, it's hardwood talk.
It's hardwood talk.
I do have a question for Sanjeev, if I may.
You're the producer.
We found a quote here. It said that you have said that you feel comedy can be a powerful way to explore social and political topics, as it can offer perspective rather than debates that can become political and weaponized, which I thought was a very good point. So we thought we might play a small game with you based on that idea. Comedy versus debate. So I'm going to give you a sort of a debate topic and someone that perhaps did a good job. For example, Martin Luther King famously, did a very compelling speech arguing for racial equality. Which comedian do you think would have done a better job?
That's a very good question. Of the same speech?
Yeah.
Or of the same debate?
Same debate, same topic.
With two different
Who are you bringing in? You're tapping him out. Who are you bringing in to take over?
I mean, instinctively, I'm thinking the first name came to mind actually was Rory Bremner. Because he can do all the voices and stuff. So, he could actually illustrate the debate by not having anybody there. Because if it's on the radio, you just kind of go, oh my goodness, how many people are involved in this conversation? And then you just go, one. It's just one.
That's it.
You go, wow, who's the one?
So Rory Bremner could do the whole debate, but comedy.
Yeah, exactly. Or not, depending on, how the audience reacts. So, he could go to Washington, have all those people there, million people there, and do the debate on his own.
I think that
was the first one.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, Martin Luther King did a cracking job, but I would really like to see Rory Bremner have a pop at it too.
But I think that's a cheat answer because the whole point of the game is comedy versus debate. And what you've just done is turn it into a comedy debate.
I can come in with perhaps our next version here. So Greta Thunberg done a very good job of bringing a little bit of excitement and attention to environmentalism and the climate catastrophe. Is there a comedian that you think might serve better than her?
Well, that's tricky because Greta Thunberg's still very young, isn't she? She's a teenager. Yeah. So trying to think of someone of that generation is quite tricky. I can't think of any. But again, I'll go with first instincts. Dawn French. I mean, you just listen to Dawn French. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would listen to whatever she's saying, and again, she can do lots of different characters. Across the years, in sketches and stuff, she's done lots of characters. All of them really fun.
Well, she's a national treasure. National treasure. I'd listen to her about anything.
Treasure. And so, therefore, you'd listen to her about the climate debate.
But I mean, is there a climate? I don't know. Producer
Well, there's
Martin,
definitely a debate.
Question. Well, yeah, there is a debate. Is it real or is it just nice weather?
The debate's real. Is climate real? Is that
climate change.
This is an ongoing conversation we have.
My word.
Yeah.
Well, the climate does change, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does.
Well,
but
there you go.
That's just the seasons, isn't it? It's just the seasons.
Well, not when it happens out of season.
Well, then the seasons are changing.
Well, not if you've got a kind of, winter snap in the middle of July.
Well,
that's not
it's nice,
changing.
isn't it? Because people can cool down in July.
This is...
Yeah, they don't want to. Their houses get flooded and stuff.
Oh, but only some people, not over here.
Sanjeev, I think
it depends where over here is.
You'd be fighting a losing battle here. We've even if we had Dawn French on the show, I'm not sure we could fully convince Harriet that climate change is a legitimate concern.
I'm thinking a combination of Rory Bremner and Dawn French.
Tag team
might begin to chip away at Harriet's cliff face of stubbornness.
I'd like to see them try.
So would I.
Just one more debate versus comedy. There was a very compelling argument for the prevention of animal cruelty, and that came from Ricky Gervais. Which comedian do you think would do a better job?
Gosh. Again, that's a tricky one, isn't it, really? I mean, they've got to be living, I suppose.
Well,
is that a prerequisite?
Not necessarily. No, I'd like to hear whatever you've got to offer here.
It's like the Who would you like in your dinner party? Yeah.
Again, I'm going to go with the first thing that came into my head, which was Robin Williams.
Oh,
great.
Robin Williams would be fantastic. Again, because he could do the voices of the animals.
Yes.
As well, because he's kind of voiced animals in things before, and always funny, really quick, really sharp. So, yeah, I'd go with Robin Williams.
You know what?
And that's
actually, Robin Williams for all the previous answers as well, actually.
Yes, but that's the thing, isn't it? Because actually, we need someone to make us laugh with that debate, and not keep it all serious like Ricky does. But obviously, there is a place for serious talk as well. I'd like to throw in one of mine, Producer Martin. Yes. I mean, Enoch Powell made a sort of controversial but well thought out speech against immigration. But it was comedians of the time, like Bernard Manning, who really took that message on.
They did. They did. He did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't they?
They really did. They did. So, Sanjeev, most recently you've been playing D.I. Sunny Khan in Unforgotten, about two detectives who solve cold cases of disappearance and murder, and then hijinks ensue. So you've got a new series coming out in the new year. I guess what I want to ask you is, it's not as funny as your previous work, is it?
I hope not. No, I think that the comedy in it, actually all the comedy I've ever done actually has been unintentional. But, people laugh and you go, it's a comedy. And when they don't, you go, no, it's a drama. It's a drama.
Yeah.
So not many people laugh at this one. So it's a drama.
I mean, it's a funny premise, isn't it? You'd think there'd be a lot of comedy in there. Like, remains in the backyard. Oh, yes, exactly, Producer Martin.
I think it was a very wise decision to take the laugh track off it.
Yeah.
Because I think that when the laugh track was on it, it was funny. It was funny, of course, just in the way that you've done it. In fact, you did it better than we delivered it.
Thank you. People don't realise, but I have got great comedy chops.
You certainly got chops. So, yeah, once they took the laugh track off it, it just appealed to a different audience. And more significantly, a bigger one.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they
right, yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it does help, though,
we could benefit from, we could grow our listenership by making our show a bit more dramatic. That might be something I could look into. Maybe I could put some, some backing tracks. Maybe I could make this little bit a bit dramatic for the podcast.
Well, I mean, listen, Producer Martin, your first name is Producer, and so therefore, and that's what you do. And I don't want to tread on any producer toes, but you could certainly experiment with a laugh track with strings at the back for certain parts of it, maybe kind of slightly unnerving music.
Yes.
Or chatter like you were in a bar or a restaurant,
like we're recording
seaside or something like that.
This is very exciting. I can see a lot of.
Just see how it goes.
You haven't.
A lot of different opportunities
you haven't picked
available.
this up from Meghan's podcast, have you? It's not.
Oh well, no.
I don't know. It just sounds. No.
Well, I didn't suggest chickens, but I mean, obviously that's a choice.
It's another sound effect that you
We could just do sound effects.
Get Rory Bremner in to just sit in the corner and make sound effects. Does he do those as well as?
I don't think so. No, I think he does voices really. So if you wanted, for instance, to suggest that you were somewhere where, John Major, Ken Clark, Michael Heseltine were also in the room, people of that ilk and that era,
that would be the time to
then, he'd be your man, yeah.
That sounds good. Does also sound like it could be fake news, though. It's something we have to...
Only if it's news, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, then it's just fake, which is all right, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. There's a distinction there, and I think that's one thing to take into account. Well, Sanjeev, thank you so much. Best of luck with your little show, Unforgotten. And I hope it grows. I hope it does it right. Well, that was the show. We are back again next week with more Non-Censored. And please remember to subscribe and like and
hit those buttons. Yes. All of them. 5 stars, please. That's the amount of stars that we'd like.
Yes, we'd like 5 stars.
Unless you're, listening to us on some kind of new platform, a Mastodon or something. If there's 15 stars, 20, just give us the top stars.
Yeah, give us the stars. It helps people to find us, and really more people should know about us. With thanks to Rosie Holt, Brendan Murphy, Eshaan Akbar, Larry Budd, Paul Dunphy, Suze Kempner, Ed Morrish, and special guest Sanjeev Bhaskar. Join us next week for some more Non-Censored.